Hello, good afternoon. It's your show on Pop TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today we have two professors. Ken Regan, welcome to the show,
Thank you very much for having me on.
and Dan Fleetwood. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hi, Ken. Hi, Sasha. It's
Yeah,
good to
Yes,
see you.
wonderful. So we have in today's candidates starting on Sunday in Cyprus, and I've heard so many comments about the favorites and about the tournament itself, and most of the commentators are united in that only first place matters. All others don't. So
right.
instead of qualifying the three favorites or four favorites, they're qualifying only one person. It's so difficult. Frankly, I just spoke yesterday to Grandmaster Evgeny Bariev, and he said that it's almost impossible to predict the winner. Most people are saying that Caruana won one way or another, but most people saying that he's not going to be first. He will be his main favorite, but he's not going to be first. How does it work? Ken, do you see any logic in it?
Yes, well, it's again, I read chess Twitter, so you could find on chess Twitter, everybody's predictions for the candidates, and it's a uniform distribution. For instance, Timur Radjabov just posted, who his favorites were and Nakamura and Carlsen were in the middle, and he put Matthias Bluebaum and Yavokir Sindarov last. I've seen other people putting them first. So,
Yeah.
In my opinion, Sindarov is main favorite, although he may not win the tournament. But Daniel, what do you think?
I think Sindarov is playing extremely well. I saw some statistics showing that Bluebaum had the best winning percentage against the field. Nakamura has the most net wins against the field. Sindarov seems to be playing the best, and you could always have a dark horse come out of the field. So the one thing that's been, I guess, difficult recently is for the favorites to actually win. Maybe because they have a target on their back.
Hmm. Yeah, because well, in my opinion, Nakamura, of course, that's most likely his last chance uh, to win this tournament. So he will definitely try, and he's capable. He's very strong. People forget about it. And, okay, they're accusing him of streaming and doing many things, but he is very, very strong.
Oh, he
Some,
came within a game. He came within a game of qualifying the in the last round. So absolutely, he should be taken very seriously.
absolutely, and his will to win, the willpower, I think also second to none. I don't think that anybody there is comparable to him. So he is definitely should be looked after. But even players like Giri, for example, if he's going to win a game or two and stay that way for some period of time, he will become my favorite this way. Ken, what?
Yeah, I think there would be audible cheers from many corners of the world if someone like Anish would emerge from the crowd.
like there were when he finally won Vaikanze. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
And
Yes.
you should don't forget that whoever will win this tournament is hands down favorite to become a world champion by beating Gukesh.
Right, because Gukesh has had a definite downturn in his play. Um, so I have the one observation I have that's related to that is Hikaru Nakamura has not really played classical chess. He played a training match against Wonder Liang and lost that.
Lost. Yeah.
So, but otherwise, to play enough games to qualify on the rating list, what he did was he played in two open tournaments against very weak players. So,
Well,
So
he just needed number of games to. So he fulfilled that by playing in some little tournaments. I think he became Open champion of Alabama, or maybe some in Canada. Or he played one tournament in Canada also against the average 1,700 players, something like this.
yeah, the training match was fast chess anyway. So I mean, it was blitz and
Oh,
rapid. Oh, there was a classical game. I see. Those both ended in draws.
So he didn't do as well in the classical, but of course, the more you speed up the clock, the more powerful Nakamura becomes.
Right.
What is controlling candidates do? No?
Who is what?
What is it? Time control in candidates. What's the
Time control in candidates is slower, I think. Let's see. That's a good question. Let me see if I can look it up. I was looking something up when I clicked myself out just before. So let's see. So this is a really funny thing. I'm on chess.com, so I can go there. But however, I find that Chess Results is the only place that that gets time controls right. However, it's not yet mounted at Chess Results. So, or I'll look it up for the week in chess, but they don't have an item on it yet. So I incorporate the time control when I'm doing. Yes, the week in chess is not yet listed an item for that. So I had to go to Lichess or chess.com. So here we go, the candidates. And so the candidates say it is let's see, can I find it? It's so the issue is whether they use the FIDE standard time control. One thing I noted that the Bundesliga went to the FIDE standard time control. They used to play a slower control. And in the Toronto candidates in 2024, the men played at a slower pace, but the women voted. The men played at a pace where the increment did not start until turn 41. Okay, so they had 2 hours plus maybe a half hour lump sum at turn 40, and then 30 seconds beginning at turn 41. So that counted under me as 160 minutes to turn 60. The women played at the FIDE standard time control, which is gives 150 minutes to turn 60. So people were remarking that the women were given less time than the men. Like, in women's tennis, they play fewer sets. But the women actually voted to have that. They play with the FIDE standard control in the women's Grand Prix and were completely comfortable with that. So I cannot find the candidates time control looking on any of these sites at all. So let me take the ultimate desperation.
Well, maybe players don't know what's the time control, and they will be given time control information just
it's going to
before
be
start.
here. Wikipedia has it. It's going to be so it's going to be except now I've lost it. 120 minutes for the first 40 moves, then 30 minutes for the rest of the game, plus the 30-second increment starting from move 41. So it's the same as in Toronto. So only 10 minutes slower than the FIDE standard control, because you're not getting the increments in the first 40 moves. So we will have real time pressure. Now that's the men's. It seems not to distinguish for the women. Candidates tournament, 8-player. A women's candidates tournament is a separate link. Okay, and the separate link for that will be the FIDE standard time control. So it happened in Toronto is being preserved.
Yeah, I see that there's also a draw restriction. Players aren't allowed to agree to a draw before Black's 40th move.
That's probable. Sure. Let's see.
Yeah, and then tie breaks look like rapid followed by blitz if there's a tie. So
right.
Pretty much what we've seen.
Yep. So it means that the players were satisfied with that format in Toronto. Now, the other piece of news connected with the candidates is the irony that India's Humpy Konaru withdrew from the event over safety concerns. There was one missile, a drone attack missile from Iran that hit a British base on Cyprus, 50 miles away from the tournament site, but taking her place is Anna Muzychuk from Ukraine. So,
well, yeah, that puts a different perspective on safety.
yes,
Yeah,
that may be.
she get used to it over the last 4 years, so she doesn't care. It's,
Yeah. And the other news in the chess world today, which includes a long article in today's New York Times, at least on the New York Times website, if it's not in print, and that is that the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Lausanne overturned, let's say, a FIDE ethics ruling that had fined Russia 45,000 euros for organizing events in occupied Ukraine, including Crimea, and the Court of Arbitration for Sport made that a ban. So it's a very politically tricky situation, but part of it is that chess is obligated to follow Swiss sporting law in connection with the Olympics. So where there is overlap in domain, chess has to be consistent with others' rulings. Now in the Paralympics, on the other hand, the Russians were able to play under their own flag, causing protests on site. But staging events in occupied Ukraine is a further step that's not being allowed up top. So there's a very long, well-explained article on that on the New York Times website. Written by Jason Whitehead.
We'll try to find it. Mm-hmm.
I guess I can't find it completely yet. No, here we go. Sure. It's funny. I read it by Twitter, but it's not searchable on the New York Times website. It's dated today, 27th. So,
there are a lot of very unusual things happen. For example, look at that. Ukraine is fighting Russia. Ukraine is helping the Arab countries, regions. Zelensky just visited Saudi Arabia, and they're going to use Ukrainian help with drones technology and all that stuff. US is on the same side as Ukraine in Middle East right now. On the other hand, you Americans today, or at least MAGA, they are getting a red carpet to Russian Duma, 5 people from Russian Duma. They invited them and they treated them as to all kind of red carpet situation and so on. How all that works together, nobody knows. Nobody can figure out that.
Yeah. It's very difficult. And of course, FIDE and FIDE's president in particular are sandwiched between two spheres of power because he comes from Russia, and the Russian Chess Federation is still the most powerful federation for influence on FIDE, and they, want to be happy, but so it's a very difficult situation, and maybe when you're forced to be middle of the road, sometimes you want the road to be rocky so that it's not, what happens is not completely on you.
I don't know. I find in the middle of the road you get hit from rocks on both sides, so
yes,
you have to be resilient.
Yeah, that's already happening. But anyway, I did find the New York Times article. The reason I wasn't finding it is it's actually on The Athletic and hasn't been integrated to the website. So I will share my screen and just show it. So it's oops, wait a second. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. So it's So the athletic landmark ruling in chess could challenge Russia's sovereignty over Ukraine. So if you can get it, maybe I can gift it to you actually, because I have a New York Times subscription. So this has all the detail going back about Karyakin. And Karyakin briefly appeared on the rating list before it was pointed out that that was not consistent with recent rulings. He was in the top 10. So anyway, so long article about this with the final line, Putin cannot play as both black and white. However, I want to pivot to celebrating someone from Ukraine who is playing at the Reykjavik Open, which is the main event that is happening, and it's on an accelerated schedule. So I think it actually ends by time, or maybe overlaps the candidates with one day. Not that people would be playing in both events anyway, but I'm talking about Grandmaster Vasyl Ivanchuk, who also gave a very good showing in Vaikonce. And he is 2.5 from the first 3 games, including a very sprightly win over American Zoe Tang, who just took part in the America's Cup. So I will show this if I can. Yeah, here we go. So I assume you see the board.
Yes.
And I don't know why it's not letting me scroll to center the board. Maybe if I make it a little bigger. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. So it's a straight up Sicilian defense. And it's interesting, Ivanchuk manages to achieve what the engine recognizes as a fairly consistent advantage out of the opening. Of course, people are paying attention to engines. So, Dan, I don't know how unusual Black's early queen sortie is in this position with the knight already on
C6. It's certainly thematic in this. Usually, white just plays knight b3, and you kind of transpose. But I suppose there are other possibilities.
Yeah, well, knight b3 appeared on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a fairly common line.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but white has had briefly achieved the 0.70 that Larry Kaufman says is the pivot point of success of an opening for white. Okay, so now this I always liked doing when I was white, giving black a backward B pawn in a Najdorf style type structure. So what's ironic is that the colors of pawns on that square are going to change, and white is ultimately going to win a black pawn on a5 to gain the advantage. But here we go. So black, first of all, tries to break out of before white is able to clamp down on the b6 square and really make the pawn backward. But now black has a weak a pawn, and that is the running theme of the game. Plus, white gains a tempo. And now white is so nice rook lift move, over protecting e4 and preparing to put more pressure. Even on a6, the pawn is not safe if white doubles and has the bishop on e2 also attacking it. So this, in fact, leads black to move the pawn forward. But it's not really safe on that square. And this is the moment to catch our breath. And I have to say, white has achieved what white wants. Black has not really started any counterplay. Black usually goes for counterplay on the C file, but white has it very well dammed up at the moment.
Yeah, ironically, by castling kingside, white has just removed pretty much everything that black wanted from the opening, and it looks like black has been drifting.
Mm-hmm. Now, so one thing is, is in these positions, often white, if white is playing on the king side, white will go for f4 and e5 or f5 or g4, g5. But white just calmly plays f3. Now black's bishop and knight are biting on granite. So, it's hard to see what counterplay. And again, this maybe is what we will recognize as the art of chess. Create positions in which your opponent's most humanly natural move is a mistake. So if I'm playing fast chess, I'm going to play rook fd8 immediately. It's obviously the move to make in this position. The computer says black should cut bait by sacking a pawn and hoping that open lines and a little bit of airiness of the G1, A7 diagonal will give compensation. So the computer wants to reach a position like this where black's pawn will probably fall. Anyway, going back out of here, instead you have to rook a d8. Now white plays knight b5, and I'm sorry, black did play d5. I'm sorry, d5. Now the computer wanted. So let's just see. What would rook a d8 have been? I was looking wrong place. So I would play rook a d8 here. And then at least what I'm saying was right. The knight b5 gives white a strong initiative. In fact, it costs black this pawn. So maybe it would just be judged that I miscalculated. So black did play d5, which computer's recommended move, but here played rook a d8. And instead, accepting the isolated pawn when knight takes d5 was the way to try to stay in it. And actually, black played rook a d8. Let's see what's wrong with rook fd8. Okay, white just takes
goody.
pieces, yes. So that's so you have to play the wrong rook to d8 in order to make this work. And now, so the rest of the game is marked just by very much refreshing accuracy by Ivanchuk. So knight d5, is the and d6 is the right idea. Now white is giving back the pawn, but gaining the two bishops in return. So, and white doesn't even play the queen to c3. That would give back bishop to knight d5. White just retreats and is going to sit on this position with the better pawn structure and the two bishops. So, black plays rook c8, natural move, but the reality is black could not defend the pawn on a5, so off it goes. So white could play bishop f2 here, and that's also a perfectly good move. But it's time for white to get the pawns up, and white still has control over the dark squares with this. Black's bishop on b7 still is biting on granite, does not have anything active to do, and playing on c6 is unfortunately a very sorry result, because white simply has nothing to fear from pins on the c file. So let's see, does this lose something right away? No, white just ignores it with b4. So black doubled on the d file, but now here we come. b5 is coming with tempo against the poor bishop. So black tries a counterattack. Now Ivanchuk has a lot of time, and he just calculates that he does not have to get excited about this incursion. He has to retreat his bishop. Black plays queen c7, hoping to get some influence over where pieces are going. But white just comes forward with the pawns. So black makes Luft. Now white's going to play c6 next. So black tries an incursion, and here comes the nicest part of how white calculated what's going to happen here. So c6. So black can take the bishop and go here. Now we're going to win the c6 pawn because we are forking the bishop, hoping to play with 4 versus 3 on the king side, or hoping to get a perpetual check. And here's the final nice point. Ivanchuk has seen ahead that so if he plays queen f2 right away, then black will capture and queen c5, and the attack on the rook will force white to interpose with f2, and then it's perpetual check. But Ivanchuk has seen that he can give check and then just calmly retreat. And so there's nothing really for black to do here. And so Zhou Yitang gave up. So No, it's white. It's not just that it's 4 versus 3. It's that white is going to eventually be able to organize an attack on black's king that will win this game. So, that's a nice result. And if I have time, I can highlight one other person who won a game with an interesting move and a kind of move that I've been trying to find examples of. So this is Norway's Arjen Tari, who has slowed a bit in his approach to 2700 plus status. But he's Norway's other young shining star, and he has started this tournament with 3 straight wins, and this in particular against a 2300 player has one very nifty move by black. Okay, so London system reversed. I don't know what you would call this, Dan.
No, I got nothing.
Okay,
this looks like the kind of opening you'd play in Blitz or
Right.
against a weaker opponent.
Yeah, beginner chess. Okay, so white
Coffee house.
Yeah, coffee house. Yeah, the engine is giving white an advantage, but if you were
good luck
black,
on that.
you know what you're doing.
So you can call it
Yeah, no more advantage. So now bishop e4. Yeah, let's move our pieces twice in the opening. Tarash, we have Tari instead of Tarash
Oh
playing.
my gosh.
So, okay. Now we exchange
even better.
for an edge knight. Okay. We exchange a bishop for an edge knight, and we allow white to stop you from castling. Again, it's beginner chess as black, but the computer kind of approves it. And actually, there is some wholesomeness about black's position. It's very solid. I guess the knights support each other. Okay, let's waste a move with the rook, guarding a pawn too. Okay, now white is going to establish the king side. White does have the advantage of the 2 bishops, but the g2 bishop is, on a course to be traded off. White's other bishop has scope, but a lot of white pawns are on the same square, and it's a closed center. So actually, black is doing fairly well here, positionally. Engine still says, white is fine. So now white avoids the incipient trade of bishops. Okay, now we can evict black's bishop from e4, but white has been going backwards. The bishops are both on their same squares, and maybe white will play knight b1 soon. No, the knight goes to b3 instead. Okay, so we redeploy. Is black going to try to do something active? The answer actually is yes on the queen side. So it takes a long time for black to deploy. Okay, or we're maybe stopping g4. Maybe that's the idea of that move. But now here comes some activity on the queen side. Okay, what is black massing in the center for? Well, this now is getting interesting. Okay, so black just masked behind 2 doubled pawns on the d file. But okay, we can get off the d file. White's not going to do anything. And as I said, white's knight goes to b1, and that allows black to finally come forward dynamically. Okay, and not worried about losing the pawn and giving white an active bishop, because in fact the damage done to white's game would be greater. So white's rook on a2, which looked good when it was played, is now the cause of losing material. So this is very well calculated, and it was white getting short of time. But okay, try to trade off that bishop anyway, or extract a concession. Now white's knight comes. White is overprotecting d4, and so this is maybe black's arguably one slip, according to the machine, could have masked pawns on the king side and played for f5, f4. But we trade off knights. Now we put pressure on the c file. Okay, and now regroup. Now black is putting pressure on the queen side, and white's bishop on h1 is really out of the game.
Spectator.
So white's queen on d4 looks like it's solidly there, but it's actually going to step away from that square. Okay. So this now is where we come to the juncture of the really interesting move. So white plays rook b1. So it turns out, is this a wrong rook situation? Well, rook b2 is equally bad. Turns out that white has to take up arms against a sea of troubles and advance one of the pawns. If you lose a pawn, maybe that happens. But white played rook b1, and now black strikes with a really nice move. So the theme is pushing pawns when it can be captured by two enemy pawns. Okay. So this is, however, uncovering an attack on b3. And if white goes c4, then this, followed by capturing on c4, is going to win something, or capturing on e3, and white's queen will be completely out of place to defend it. So it's, or even just simply establishing a passed pawn. Black will have lots of threats in this position. So anyway, so white captured this way, and now b3 had to give up an exchange, and then very quickly was just lost. So I want to find other games with this theme of a pawn sacrifice on a double guard square. Here, of course, it was uncovering an attack, but there are other cases where it's more positional. So.
Wow, a very impressive game. It could be missed. There are so many things going in chess that such a beautiful, well-played game could be completely missed. But thanks to you, it wasn't, and we could appreciate the nice, strategic game. Well, I would like to thank you very much for today's program, and next week we are going to talk and hopefully see two games from the candidates.
I meant to give a shout out to Purdue for winning on a last second bucket. That was the most exciting game last night.
Mm-hmm.
It was. That was really tense, very much of a nail biter. The Big Ten is showing its colors in this tournament. We'll see how it ends up.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week with the candidates games.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.